Hello and welcome to VU Sports Wired. I'm Max Hers.
And I'm Allison Mast.
Today we got a great show ahead for you. Let's take a look at the rundown that we have for you guys. First up, Vandy football's big game this weekend in Gainesville against the Florida Gators. Great matchup coming off of the bye week. We'll take a look at the prospects for that game. Then after that, we're going to play a little odds makers. And then after that, we're going to play a game that this week we like to call Glass Half Full, previously known as Optimist Pessimist, certainly a fan favorite. Then after that, we have a great interview, exclusive interview with Patton Robinette, Vanderbilt quarterback. And then also a look at the Vanderbilt golf team, which just keeps on winning. So first off, as I said, we're going to look at the matchup against Florida this coming weekend for Vandy football. It's going to be a tough SEC road game for the Doors after a bye week. Both teams have 4-4 records, but Florida's conference record is 3-3 compared with a 1-4 conference record for Vanderbilt. So Florida ahead of Vandy in the standings right now, but the Gators' 3 wins did come against the 3 lowest teams in the SEC standings in Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas, and they've also lost their last 3, including a loss to Georgia last week, who is the only SEC team Vanderbilt has beaten so far. So it appears from here, Vanderbilt's schedule getting much easier, as Florida's schedule has gotten much harder. So these are 2 teams definitely going in different directions.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of uncertainty surrounding the Vanderbilt team right now, just with the whole quarterback situation. And also, we have Chase Garnham, the senior linebacker, returning. He will not start, however, he will probably come in later in the game. Florida is just always a tough matchup for Vanderbilt. We haven't had a win against Florida since 1988, and the Swamp is not an easy place to play in, but I think this could be a winnable game for the Doors.
Both teams will be playing with the quarterbacks that did not start the season at the helm. Both Driscoll and Austin Carter-Samuels injured. Patton Robinette and Tyler Murphy will start for the respective teams in this game. So a look at Florida's stats now. They've been a very defensive-minded team this season, not scoring a lot of points, but also not giving up very many. And Vanderbilt's played a lot of high-scoring games, especially since the conference season started. So it should be interesting to see how these 2 teams match up since their styles of play are so different.
Yes, Vanderbilt has the advantage in most offensive categories, including 257 total points, so Florida's 168. And also, Vanderbilt has far more passing yards, although Florida has more rushing yards, so it should be a seesaw battle.
In this game, that could definitely be defensive-minded at Florida's home stadium. As always, it's going to be whether or not Vanderbilt's defense shows up to play, and shows up to play early. And like you said, with Garnham coming back, a big catalyst in that defense, and coming off a bye week, we could definitely see a big performance from the defense, like we saw against Georgia, in a conference game that really will dictate the rest of the season. So definitely a big game for the Doors coming up this week. A very winnable game on the road. Doors looking for their first conference road win of the season as they look ahead to what looks like it's going to be an easier schedule the rest of the way. So this win would go a really long way to Vanderbilt going back to a bowl game for the 3rd consecutive year. So we're going to move ahead. We're going to play a little odds makers. Let's see what Matt's got for us at the whiteboard.
Welcome to Odds Makers. I'm Matt Saitak. We have 2 questions today, short odds makers. First question is, what are the chances that Patton Robinette makes it through all 4 quarters in this Saturday's game against Florida? The second question is, men's basketball, what are the chances that we do not finish in the bottom 4 of the conference in order to get a first-round bye in the SEC tournament? So first question, Patton Robinette, what are the chances he makes it through all 4 quarters?
So Robinette, the only healthy non-freshman quarterback remaining on the depth chart for Vandy, with Josh Grady also out for the year. So it's Robinette right now at the starting position. Then behind him, we have Johnny McCrary, who's a true freshman who has great future prospects, but it's evident that James Franklin and the rest of the football staff do not want to use a year of McCrary's eligibility this year, especially with Robinette available. So I'd say, barring an injury, which would be the 3rd injury to a Vanderbilt quarterback this year, I'd say there's a 95% chance that Robinette gets through this game, and we don't see McCrary at all this year in order to save that year of eligibility and get him a little more experience in practice.
I am not that certain. I would say there's a 45% chance that Patton will last throughout the entire game. I just did not like what I saw from him against Texas A&M. He just looked very uncertain. He takes much too long to make decisions, and I think that, well, even against Texas A&M, Grady did come in because Franklin wasn't satisfied. So I think he might, Patton could surprise me, and I hope he does and have a great game, but I think McCrary might come in.
Okay, now on to the second question. What are the chances that the men's basketball team finishes outside the bottom four heading into the SEC tournament?
It's very, very early to call this. You know, we just have seen one exhibition game, and we don't know if that really shows the full strength of this team. But I'm going to say there's a 60% chance that they'll get that first round bye. Eric McCullen is certainly very talented. He had 20 points last night against UAH, and I liked how he was running the offense. However, with the departure of Keegan Johnson, suspended, Sheldon Jeter, AJ Astroth, and Kevin Bright, they lost a lot of talent, and they just do not have a lot of bodies on the bench right now. So I'll say there's a 60% chance.
So just based off of last night's game, which was a 66-60 exhibition win against Alabama Huntsville, the doors do not appear ready, completely ready at least, for this regular season to begin. And like Allison said, it's really tough to judge a team this early. They've had some practice, but they haven't had many practices yet, a full month under their belt. And this team is still getting together. They lost a lot of their stars last year. It's going to be interesting to see if and how they come together as the season progresses in what is looking like it might not be the strongest basketball conference this year, at least on the men's side. So I would say there's a 35% chance we get that first bye, finishing in the top 10 in the conference for regular season.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. So the first question, chances that Patton Robinette makes it through all 4 quarters of this week's game. I kind of want to go in the middle of these two, but I'm going to give it to Max just because I think that this is going to be Patton Robinette's coming out game. I think he's going to play really well, even though Florida's got a good defense. I think this is going to be the game that he shows that he wants to be the Vanderbilt quarterback for the future. So I'm going to give the first one to Max. Second question, what are the chances that the men's basketball team does not finish in the bottom 4? I'm also going to have to go with Max on this one. This team just does not look that strong. We lost our best player, Keegan Johnson, last year. We lost other contributors, Bright and Jeter. I just do not think they have the talent to make it, to get that first round bye in this year's SEC tournament. So Max wins this week's round of Odds Makers. Matt Sitek, back to you guys.
All right, next up we're going to look at a popular segment, which, by popular demand, has a brand new name for this week. This week we're going to call this one Glass Half Full, previously known as Optimist Pessimist. And even though it has a new name, we're going to have the same great talk that we have on our strong opinions on Vandy sports. So Allison, our first topic that we're going to talk about is Vandy going to beat Florida this week?
I do not think we will beat Florida. I definitely think it will be a close game. I like that Garnham's coming back. I think that Patton could be more comfortable this week and kind of pull things together. However, with their defense, I just don't think we can, put up the points.
Winning on the road, definitely a weakness for this Commodore team. But I think against a Florida team that has lost 3 in a row, they're going to be home, but they're going to be a little disappointed at their previous results. Sure, Vandy is also coming off a loss, but that win against Georgia is still fresh in the Commodores' minds. And let's remember that that win also came following a week with no game. And this week, the previous week was a week off for the Commodores while Florida played and lost to Georgia. So I think that really plays into the Commodores' advantage here. I think, like Matt said, Patton Robinette, this is his game to step up or maybe lose his job next year. We don't know yet, but Robinette is going to have to start playing well very soon. And I think this might be the game where that happens and the Doors pick it up here and make a bowl game.
What are your thoughts on Florida's rushing game and how we're going to respond to that? Because for me, that's a major concern.
Definitely a big question mark here is the Commodore defense. We've been a little stronger on the running defense than the passing, in my opinion, just because we give up the big plays in the pass pretty frequently. But if we can, with the off week to prepare, we can consistently stop a running game that we have had time to look, to research, and to practice like we're going to play against them. So I think we're going to come out ready to stop that rushing attack.
Okay.
Even though we're on the road. So My glass was definitely half full there. Next up, we're going to see what our respective glasses look like, talking about Vanderbilt women's basketball. So Vanderbilt women's basketball had their exhibition game in this last week as well, with a big 103-50 win against Northern Alabama. Christina Fogarty, the senior leader of this team, played great, but she was not the leading scorer by any means. The leading scorer was freshman Becca Dahlman, starting point guard, who had 21 points for the Doors in that game. And then the second leading scorer, also a freshman, forward Marquez Webb, who had 14 points. So we're looking at a lot of new, true freshman talent on this Commodore team. And with the senior leadership and the experienced coach, I think this is a team that could do great things. They were predicted 4th in the SEC by the Coaches Poll, and were very close to cracking the top 25 in the preseason polls. And it looks like this could be a team that has Sweet 16 potential. So I think they're definitely going to make it that far in the tournament.
I would agree with you. I think they are going to make it to the tournament, but Sweet 16, that's asking a lot of this really young team. I do think they're really talented, especially Christina Fogarty and Jasmine Lister. But it's just, once again, it's much too early to tell. But I don't think they're going to be able to maintain that kind of shooting. That's a difficult task. So I would say they probably will fall in the second round.
Yeah, North Alabama's no Tennessee, that's for sure. So we'll see with both the men's and women's teams how this year progresses. My glass is certainly full to the brim on this one. Allison, where would you say your glass ranks up?
All right, here today we've got Patton Robinette.
It's hard to tell. I think I have like a quarter full glass.
I'd say the glass is pretty full for the women's basketball team here, and they're thirsty for a Sweet 16 berth. I'd say that's for sure. So definitely looking for big things out of this team this year, especially these really talented freshmen quickly gaining experience. So now we're going to send it over to Ben, who had a big interview with Vanderbilt quarterback Patton Robinette. Take it away, Ben.
All right, here today we've got Patton Robinette, starting quarterback for their Vanderbilt Commodores. This has been a kind of crazy year for you so far. You started out as the backup or third on the depth chart, and now you're the starting quarterback. So how do you handle the emotions so far?
It's definitely been a ride. That's probably the best way to put it. But Coach Franklin always tells us to, prepare like you're going to be the starter. So as far as, preparation, getting in here and schedule-wise, it's been about the same. But, being out there on the field is a little bit different than sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah. So practice has picked up for you much at all now that you're getting more of the first team reps?
Definitely a lot more reps, which is a good thing. It's something I've been wanting for a while, but it's been really nice to get out there and get with the guys and develop a rapport.
Right. So last year you were redshirted and didn't get to play at all. So was there something big you learned that year or you worked on specifically?
Yeah, my roommates with Jordan Rogers on the road, who was a great quarterback and an even better guy. He was a good friend to me, but he taught me, how to play the position at this level. Getting in the film room, knowing what to do out there on the field and being a leader.
Right. So you have a pretty similar game to him as far as being dual threat and being able to throw. But is there any sort of quarterback you'd like to model your game off in general?
It used to be Peyton Manning. But ever since I decided to come west from Knoxville to Vanderbilt, it's kind of shifted a little bit. I've always been a big Andrew Luck guy. I love what he did at Stanford, with very cerebral, can run it a little bit, and what he's doing now in the NFL.
Right, so you were talking about you're from Tennessee, Maryville, so
yeah. Did
you grow up a Tennessee fan per chance?
No, actually I was all over the place. My grandfather played there, my entire family went there, but I was never a big UT guy. I was always a big Stanford guy. I even liked Florida a little bit way back then, but now I'm all board.
So does that make going down to the Swamp this week any more special for you?
It's going to be special. Just getting to play in these great environments that you grew up watching as a kid in the South. It's been fantastic, going to Georgia and Ole Miss and all these places. So going to Florida's going to be no different. But we're going out there to get a win, so that's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah. So after your first game, when you came in at Georgia, one of the first things Coach Franklin said at the press conference is that you're an incredibly smart guy. He said you got like 36 on the ACT, incredibly in high school.
Yeah.
And then even in high school, you won 3 state championships and only lost, I think, 3 games.
Something like that. I don't even
Right.
remember.
So what's something that you learned in high school, or how did that improve you?
Oh, wow. High school, I guess, taught me how to win. Going to Maryville was probably the power in the state of Tennessee. And playing under Coach Quarles and with all my guys back there, winning's an expectation. if you go 14-1, win a state championship, but lose to Alcoa, who's our crosstown rival, it's not a good season. So that's probably the biggest thing, was that it's all about winning. It's nice to to get out there with the guys and do that, but at the end of the day, the best feeling is getting a win.
Right. So what would you say are your biggest strengths that you can bring to this team?
Oh, I don't know. Definitely the smarts, like you talked about, knowing where to go with the ball. Like to think myself as a decent athlete. I don't know if everybody would say that, but can tuck it down and make some things happen if I need to. But really, just so I know how to win. That's something that's been instilled in me by my coaches and my parents and my siblings, my entire life. So that's probably the biggest thing, I think, competitiveness.
All right. Well, thanks so much. That's Patton Robinette, quarterback for your Vanderbilt Commodores.
Thanks for that interview, Ben. I'm back here with Callie Meisel to discuss men's golf.
All right, men's golf had a great weekend. It was their first tournament win at Eagle Osprey Intercollegiate. It was actually a good way to end their fall season. They won by 8 strokes over Tulsa with a final score of 876. Of course, per usual, freshman Matthias Schwab played incredibly well. He was the Doors' top finisher. He tied for second, and he ended with a score of even par 216. In fact, Schwab was not the only one that stood out. 4 Vanderbilt players finished in the top 11 individually. But we won't be seeing any more of the golf team until this February, because that was their last tournament, but it's a good way to end their fall game play.
Great. It's great to see some success after we built those new facilities for them.
It really is. Love that picture in the yellow pants, too. That's a good look.
Well, that's all we have for you today. We'll see you next week on View Sports Wire. Thanks.
Okay.